Welcome back to the Burning Red Shirt podcast, episode 27. I'm your host, Zach Tao. And again, Andrew Katz and Chris Kay are with me to talk observations from week 0 and some probably looking ahead to depth chart, things that were revealed in depth charts over the last probably hour, and kind of what we expect from week 1. But how are you guys doing?
Good. Did you know you put just a Z as your name, or was that on purpose?
Like, that's in StreamYard. That's in StreamYard. They can't see that.
I know, but I just was curious if you did it. Is like Z a nickname for you?
No.
At home? What's your nickname at home?
My nickname at home?
Do you have a nickname? Like, do people, your friends in the group, call you something other than Zach?
No. I'm curious what they call you.
Like, usually, most people just call me K, to be honest.
Oh, yeah?
But, yeah, because... I don't know. When you play baseball, you try to find the easiest, quickest thing to say.
Yeah. So many people gravitate towards Cats.
And you hate it, don't
I'm fine with.
I think Cats is great.
Only family is allowed to call me Andy. And people try. I've told you this like on the side as well. People think that they can just go there, and they can't. They immediately sets you off on a bad first step in our potential friendship. And Andrew's good. That's a net positive for you. If you're trying to get to know me, Drew is like I would love to get there, and only a few people have actually called me, and it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. And then APK, some of my buddies have started calling me that, and I love that. And I don't know if you saw, I spun up some words for franchise's website.
Yeah, I saw it.
And he just went ahead and like used APK with it. We've never discussed that before in the past ever. So nice. I was like, oh, I thought we were cool, and now I know we are cool. So,
I love APK. That's good.
It's good.
Yeah. That's funny, the Andy thing. Like, I slightly knew that. I don't ever do nicknames on people unless they tell me. Right. So I would have never done Andy. It's like my dad hates Mike. He's a Michael, and he's like, just don't ever call me Mike.
That's interesting.
So, of course, I call him Mike. So.
Absolutely. So I'm wearing my Boise State shirt this week. What are you guys wearing?
Shit, I forgot to put on.
Unbelievable.
I got a half marathon shirt on, not to brag or anything.
Yeah. I have Tennessee on, so obviously, big week.
Perfect.
Big week for us.
And and for anybody listening, no, we're not jumping into the Brew McCoy discussion. We'll save that. We'll save that after he goes 7 for 150 and 2 on Saturday.
I mean, this is going to be an unbearable world if that happens. But
it's Thursday, and I built already like 30 lineups for that Thursday slate. It's incredible. Have you looked at it?
I've started looking at stuff. There's just a lot with all these FCS teams that makes.
Yeah, I know. I'm ignoring all of them. I'm sure that'll come.
I think there's one guy on Eastern Illinois that could be good. He's like, I looked at his game. I have not looked at anything into those teams, but I scrolled through it and saw he averaged like a bunch of points, and he's like 4,600. So I clicked at his game log, and he like just tore shit up last year at the final 6 games. So I'll have to look at him, but. Otherwise, I like the slate. I mean, they were soft in some areas and they were tough in others. Like, there's a lot of good matchups. And then when you have like the FCS teams, you just pray that you don't miss on the Chase Brown where he goes for like 50 points.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
all right, guys. So week 0 came and went. Was there anything that kind of jumped out at you as kind of shocking or revealing? Because I'll start and say I'm shocked that, well, obviously Nebraska onside kicking up 11 was kind of shocking, but I'm shocked at how bad Nebraska actually is. Still, like, Northwestern's not good. At least I didn't think so.
Who do you think called plays in that game? Like, it's definitely Whipple, right? Who's called?
You would think Whipple.
Like, Frost has been so neutered at this point from a coaching standpoint that I assume he's more or less a figurehead.
Well, did you hear his comment after the game?
No.
Frost basically said the offensive staff has to get more creative in this league, or something along those lines. And I'm thinking,
I think he's right. Did you So I watched.
Well, that leads me to believe that he's not calling the plays.
Yeah, I watched a good amount of that game, and it's. As someone that could not be farther removed from actual football, It's easy for me to judge with no practical experience whatsoever. But I think it's interesting. Like I watched the first few drives, and I guess that those drives tend to lend themselves more to scripting or whatever. I guess
Mhm.
I don't know what that actually means, but it seemed so evident the difference between the drives at the beginning of the game and then as the game wore on. Like they started with a screen pass to Trey Palmer, everything looked good for a little while, and then I don't think saw another screen the rest of the game. It just seemed like there was no they weren't trying to do anything to actually like get quick, easy wins in the passing game. It was I don't know if the play calling. I agree, it did fall apart. Who's responsible for that? Who's to say? But
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
think
well, he threw him under
defensively
the
too.
bus. He
Defensively,
threw
they let Northwestern put up 31. Seems like a lot of points.
Helinski owned him. Hull looked great. Porter even had he had like 100 total yards, I think. Like they pretty much did whatever they wanted, and that's not a good sign if
Right.
you're the opposing team from the Northwestern, because it's Northwestern. So
Right. So that was my game that kind of shocked me. You guys have one that stood out to you as either fun to watch or it lived up to the hype, didn't live up to the hype.
week 0 for me, I'm sorry. I love it for so many reasons, but strategically, I think that it's cool from like a season-long perspective that when you're doing drafts, you can almost use it as a cheat, a hack to get to take some coin flips, take some shots, and then if they don't pay off, you just cut the guys. Like most leagues have waivers running before in between week 0 and 1 in some capacity, whether it's free for all or an actual like a waiver cycle. So at the back of your drafts, taking note of who is playing week 0 and whether it comes down to position battles or just freshmen and looking to target situations that, hey, maybe it's a coin flip on paper, but if that coin hits in your favor, it's 200-300% payoff. That's something that I was trying to do a little bit of towards the end of this offseason when I was doing less best ball and more in-season managed leagues, and seeing some opportunity for that with like, okay, UNC's roster, right, with the running backs,
Mm-hmm.
with Andre Green, with Drake May, and Criswell. Obviously, that was kind of settled going in, but like when we were drafting the last 2-3 weeks, especially with British Brooks going down, there was so much opportunity there that we got like a free sneak peek that we didn't have to pay for really in any capacity in redraft leagues. And
Yeah.
I mean, I drafted all 4 in one league in my home league. I drafted Green, I drafted the 2 running backs, I drafted Drake May, and now I could just cut Green, no problem. And I'm looking good on the other 3. Do you guys have you seen anything why Green didn't play?
I think I was listening to Jason the Natty, and they made reference to Brandon Sanders, the UNC
Yeah, the
guy.
UNC guy.
It basically just sounds like he's super inconsistent, that like he's just a young guy that's super raw, and like his talent's amazing, but
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like he's going to be that much of a factor, at least for the first month or two.
it's so weird to me how they like. I can't think of any other schools who still. So I was thinking about this like the other night. No, it feels like almost no other schools actually do the redshirting thing the way that it used to be done. But UNC in some cases seems like they do. Like think about in 2019, Downs basically did not play until the bowl game, and then he went nuclear against A&M when Daz Newsome and the other dude opted out, or maybe that was 2020. And then last year, Gavin Blackwell did not see the field, I think, for a single snap. And now he's starting and catching touchdowns. I cut that dude in all my dynasty leagues where I snatched him up because the ACC guy owned him in our industry league, David Hale. And I cut him this offseason. I'm like, oh, that guy's toast. He couldn't even see the field. How do you not even take advantage of the 4-game like free sneak preview? Like, and now are they going to do this again with Andre Green? Like, why can't you're playing an FCS game? You get 4 free games. Just put the guy on the field for a couple drives when you're up 20 or 30 and see what he can do. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that whole thing, but UNC does. Mac Brown's just so old. Maybe he doesn't really.
Yeah,
he doesn't really
he doesn't know the
advantage
rule.
of it. I thought, like, in the same vein as what you're talking about here, I think Western Kentucky makes a lot of sense, right? Like, and it wasn't necessarily whether to cut him or drop him or whatever, or keep him. It was, should I play him in week 1? And that was like before seeing that it's Hawaii, that Hawaii was going to give up 1,000,000 points to Vandy. But I went into the week thinking, okay, like, is Austin Reed going to look good? Is he going to be productive? And then would I want to play him in one of my, or any of the leagues that I have him in where I'm setting lineups, which is kind of weird. I feel like in some spots I'm like, no, I don't want him over the others. And then in some, I'm like, I'm definitely rostering him. But, and it was interesting. Like I had that Kai Robichaud or whatever.
Yeah.
And great news. Western Kentucky wants to run the ball now. Awful news. Robichaud or whatever is like RB3 on the team, so he's definitely cuttable. So I think the Western Kentucky offense was probably the most interesting part of it. Why they started running the ball like legitimately, even before it started running, they were running the ball. I mean, if they don't pass it a bunch against Hawaii, then that's just who they want to be, which is somewhat closer to 50-50, you know, like a 60-40 or 57-60 or 43 type, where last year they were what, like 70% pass. So I don't know. What do you think about their receiving options? Which ones? I mean, obviously Corley, but do you think Daywood continues? Do you think there's a third guy there?
Are we getting ignored
Oh.
Joshua Simon up just not doing anything apparently?
I mean, Joshua Simon to me is just a figment of everyone's imagination. They just try to make him a thing, and he's not a thing. It's like Fetch, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Daywood, Corley, and then I guess Hall if you're gonna throw a third one in. But I don't know. I'm wondering if, like you're saying, like, are they gonna try to run it more? I'm wondering if that was more so to just kind of ease him in, like,
Yeah,
more so than anything. And you're playing Austin P. You didn't have to throw it 80 times to even win, even though it's closer than it should have been. I could see where they go against Hawaii and open it up a little bit more, but
they didn't really have to do that last. What's the difference between last year and this year, right? Like Bailey Zappi was awesome in FCS, and he comes up, and they played garbage schools right from the jump, and they chucked it right from the jump.
The first game the first game of both seasons kind of mirrored each other in the sense that the first quarter last year was a disaster for Western Kentucky. Zappi, I think he threw a pick. I don't think they scored in the first quarter. And then things picked up, and he ended up going absolutely nuclear. And Reed did pick it up like as the game progressed a little bit. I didn't watch any of the game this year, so I couldn't I would defer to you on how things actually looked. But I mean,
they definitely, it seems like, I'm going to do some quick math here, because they had 36 passing attempts last year and 25 rushes. So about 60%. So maybe that was it. But like Zappi was crazy efficient, and Austin Reed looked pretty.
Those two names should never be in the same sentence. They should never be uttered in the same sentence.
Yeah. I think an overreaction to say that like Reed is droppable, or like Reed's a guy you don't want, like, or he's gonna be bad, but like he's not even gonna be 70% of Zappi. Like he's gonna be 50%, which is still pretty good, you know, but it's not like I wouldn't even put him in the top 30 of quarterbacks throughout the whole season. But the problem is, right, their schedule's so soft that like you could say, well, he didn't do well against Austin P, but it's like Austin P is not that much worse than some of these teams he's going to be playing week in and out. Well, yeah, so it's like
it's Conference USA.
At least defensive matchup wise, right? So I don't know. I think you go Matheson got some targets there at the end, but they kind of felt soft. They kind of felt like not real, like almost not garbage time, but like kind of felt like garbage time. Whereas Jalen Hall like was the guy that like stretched the field, and
he's
I think
still being Jalen Hall.
Yeah. Well, did you see? Okay, you didn't see it, dude. They threw it in the end zone, and it's a bad throw, or it's defended, and actually it was a penalty, so he didn't have a chance to catch it, and he slipped, and they threw the penalty flag, and out of nowhere he just snags the flag like a foot off the ground. It's actually insanely impressive. So
dude, he looks so cool, and the idea of him is so good, and then he goes out and catches one pass for 30 yards like half his games.
Yeah, Yeah, he looks really cool. I mean, number 0, he plays the part, he looks good,
Yeah.
and just doesn't produce for whatever reason.
All right, so let's move on to another game. I honestly, I'm happy that UConn showed well. I'm upset because my guy Keelan Marion had his touchdown catch and then broke his collarbone.
Bummer.
So that's kind of a downer for
They
me.
all got hurt in that game, it feels like.
So that's a disappointment. But I think UConn looked decent. Like Nathan Carter was pretty much unstoppable in that game. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched a little bit of it.
Yeah, I was tuning in a bit here and there to it.
Because you wanted to see Bonner. They that was interesting. UConn definitely wants to just run, and it's only going to get worse or more with Taekwon Roberson hurt for season with the torn ACL, and now I think they're starting as Zion Bowens, the true freshman. I think he's a true freshman.
Bowens is the Hawaii guy.
That's the Hawaii
Zion Carter.
Zion Carter. Thank you. So that'll be interesting. They're going to just run it all the time.
Yeah.
But Utah State was interesting. Turner. I'm just getting all the names.
We both got it.
So the question here would be Utah State. They ran it a ton. Do you think that's just because they wanted to ease Bonner's health in, or what? We can't possibly think they want to run it more than they.
No. Easing him in, I believe the idea of hiding some stuff from Alabama. I think both the combination. I do. Because coaches think that way.
Oh yeah, they think they can win every game. Which why wouldn't you?
That's why they've ascended to that level, right?
Yeah.
It's not by being not confident.
Like you don't go into there and say, guys, look, try your best. I know we're probably going to lose, but
my college baseball coach was the best motivational speaker. We were off my freshman year at Virginia Tech. We were awful. I think we won 23 games. We won 4 in the ACC. You play 30, by the way. And every single weekend we were playing an ACC team. We played UNC, Miami, all these big incredible teams back then. And every single time after the pregame kind of warm up, he gave us a speech. And I thought every single time we would crush the other team. So it's everywhere. It's not just in college football either. It's everywhere.
I remember high school was the same way.
Yeah, my high school tennis coach, he was a dinosaur then. I think he's still kicking. I think so. He's presumably still a dinosaur. But he just rode the influx of talent in my town to record-setting wins. But his motivational speech was basically we would all get on the bus for a road game or gather around the court for a home game and be like, you guys are good, just go and win. And that was it. Okay, I guess we're good.
What I also think is funny is I remember we playing high school football, we'd be down at halftime, it'd be 28-7 against a really good team, and then you get in there and your coach is like, look, if nothing else, fight for the guy next to you, the same cliched stuff, and you leave that locker room and you think you're about to come back and beat them, realistically come back and beat them when you're down 3-4 scores. When he knows, and you probably know too, that you're not going to win. But like you said, to get to this level, you have to believe that your coaching is good enough to win you every game that you play. But I don't know if they hid a lot of stuff from Alabama. I don't know what you can really hide from them. But yeah, as far as they ran the ball a lot, though.
They did
a ton.
Yeah.
You like Calvin Tyler though, Andrew?
I would be doing victory laps, but I just don't believe in it. I'm not going to go out here and lap something that I think was a mirage. There's no point. And I don't even get the points for it. It's week 0.
All right, so there's another game, another player I wanted to talk about. How about UNLV? And Brumfield throwing for 350 and 4 touchdowns to, was it Ricky White in his name?
Yeah,
from Michigan State. Is this just because they played Idaho State, or is this because he's actually good and going to do this more often than not?
Which one, Brumfield or White?
Either one.
Well, we can defer to Chris.
Well, by the way,
he's intimately acquainted with him from previous
unfortunately,
games.
Yeah.
But by the way, I was looking at the Idaho State. It popped up on the box score, and I'm like, Vanderwall.
Yeah, the
I'm
Wyoming
thinking
guy.
the Wyoming castaway, right? One of the
Yeah.
Wyoming guys. And I'm thinking, man, Wyoming. I bet they wish they had something like that now. Go ahead, Chris.
I think Ricky White could be. I think Ricky White and Kyle Williams are good receivers.
Right.
I just don't know how. I mean, Brumfield to me, like, I don't know. It sounded like he had the job in the bag the whole time. They just were being nice to Harrison Bailey. But I don't know, man. I'm not gonna. I'll tell you. I think Brumfield has a shot at being more legitimate than Aiden Robbins. Like, you go 10 for what, 25 or 35 against Idaho State.
Yeah.
That's not all that impressive. I mean, he's a big dude and he's awesome at the goal line. His first touchdown at least was, I mean, he looks great, right? He's huge. But like he runs real, I mean, looks stiff. He's not fast.
Do you actually watch this game?
I watched, yeah. Fortunately, I did, yeah. And he just didn't look good. I mean,
damn.
This is like the bad but effective. You know, if he's the Charles Williams Charles Williams, in my opinion, is actually pretty decent. But like if he gets 25 carries, like he might break 100 yards, but he'll probably get the 2 goal line touchdowns and like those good matchups. I would think, to me, I am way off on Robbins, and I would want Brumfield if I had to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some of like our sharpest gambling friends love Doug Brumfield and are all convinced, or what I've seen is that, like, basically if dude could just stay healthy, he like UNLV could be a good team. And like the past 2 years, he's just gotten hurt in like the first, second game, and that's pretty much torpedoed their season. So, and he, like, you look back at his game logs, and he was not incredible, but solid from a fantasy perspective in recent opportunities. So I think that he seems like a quality player. I don't know what to expect the offense to actually look like when they're not facing the Bengals, right? But I think that Brumfield's a good player. I think I'm fairly certain he is a mobile enough dude, and he's a lefty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't stand lefties, man.
I know it looks wrong.
He's a twig too. I mean, he's 6'5", 225, which you would think is like pretty big.
Yeah.
But he looks like a twig out there.
No,
I mean, he's not James Blackman, but he's close.
Yeah. Robbins played. I was box score following, but it seemed like he was like the only back utilized while the game was closed. So as much as poor, am I correct on that?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he got like basically all the snaps, and like
that's
so
where
huge,
I think though. Even if he's not like, I mean, how could, if you told me that he looked shifty at 6'3", 235, I'd be like, damn, okay, here we go. It could be worse though. 3 touchdowns and all the snaps.
Yeah. That's where I think truly it's the bad but effective. It's he's going to get 25 to 30 touches, and then when he plays like a average team, you know, it's just going to be game over. He's going to be a great play, but
Maybe.
I just, and you get enough of those in the
I ended up getting him on a ton of teams redrafting best ball, just because the profile of UNLV, and it was like all the news was like, okay, this guy's number 1, so let's do it.
All right. I guess we can talk about Chase Brown and the monster game that he had. Unless, Chris, you got something?
Well, I was going to say, I want to talk about the Wyoming game. So
okay,
Chase,
go for it.
You can kick it with Chase Brown, because Chase Brown, I don't really necessarily have.
And it's funny, like, I don't do as many drafts as you guys do, but I remember in most of the drafts I did, I was at a position to draft him, and it just always felt like a good pick. Like, whenever I was getting him, I was like, you know what? I know he's probably going to be solid. He's going to give me good points. I didn't expect necessarily this week 0, but I'm pretty happy with that, what I saw. Maybe it's because Wyoming is horrendous. When I was talking about Vanderwall, they could have used him because they went 5 of 20 for 30 yards passing. Like, ugh. I feel like I could have done that. Like, literally, I could have stepped out there and done that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things with that. But to go back to Chase Brown, I don't have like any Chase Brown besides like our dynasty league that we drafted together. And I think you're the one that was like pushing for him, which wasn't against, but I just don't have much or any of them.
Right.
And it feels like in hindsight, I'm gonna really regret that. Like Brett Bielema running back. The only thing that I would say might like help those that don't have Chase Brown is I don't know if Illinois is going to be anything but like a 3-win team. So like, is this just
Right.
one of those awesome games that he puts up because the other team was so awful? Like Isaiah Williams had 7 catches for 26 yards or something.
And
like
it's
that.
funny
Like,
when I saw that, I thought of you said it on I think it's the last podcast. We were talking about the underdog props, and you said,
Mhm.
yeah, I could just see Williams going for 5 catches for 19 yards, and it just hit me. I'm like, he literally called that one. That was spot on.
It's just Tommy DeVito, man. Like it's not even like I can be all excited about getting that right. Like it's just Tommy DeVito.
Yeah.
Like so.
Yeah. So
I want Wyoming side of things. I
we
think
picked Illinois to win 3 games. So
and that was one of them, right?
I would think so.
God,
Yeah.
I hope so. Wyoming is going to be so bad. I think that like Titus Swin. I know he's kind of banged up. Maybe he's fine. Maybe he's not. But like
he's
Titus Swin is toast, man. Because that offense is so bad.
If they can't throw the ball, he's done.
They're not going to do anything. They're never going to be around the goal line. So he's only going to score 40-yard touchdowns.
Like their drives are going to be so short because if they get to 3rd and 6, they got to throw it, and they can't throw it. So then now you're punting, and then
dude, they just
he's not even going to play for a little while though. Like rib means cracked rib, which means you're out for probably about a month.
Especially as a running back, yeah, you're not getting hit all day.
Yeah,
that was alarming. I don't really have much Titus Swin. I know you do. I'm sorry.
I do. Whoops.
I mean, he looked great, but it's just the like what are you gonna do, man? If you can't get around the end zone, you can't get the freebies, then you're in trouble.
Yeah. Wyoming. After that display, I'm not sure if they win any games.
They have Northern Colorado week 2, I believe.
Is that a win though? Like
I repeat, after that display, I don't know
without sweat potentially.
Right. So Wyoming could be looking at a winless season. Long way to go before that can happen. You guys want to cover any of these? There's plenty of other games. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about Nevada, New Mexico State. Thoughts on that, Andrew?
I didn't watch it. I was too busy and catching up on DVR, UNC, and then pivoting over to Hawaii. It looked like it was totally unwatchable. Just kind of following along on Twitter.
It was so bad.
So it lived up to the hype. In other words.
So I watched the first quarter, and that Pavia for New Mexico State.
Yeah.
He was just throwing his body everywhere. Like I don't know if he got pulled from injury or he threw 3 picks, but like first or second drive, it's like 3rd and 6, and like he's scrambling and he just like throws his body in there to get the first down, which was great. But I'm thinking, all right, week 1, you're doing that. Like, you're not going to last very long.
Did you see the note about the backup who came into the game? No. Okay. Did you see? First of all, he's funny looking.
I see him now. Yeah.
Yeah. But apparently, he ended up in Las Cruces, right?
Right.
He was originally
had no idea he was there.
Committed to Princeton. Who the fuck is deciding to go to Las Cruces when you could go to Princeton and just coast as Ivy League QB1?
Dude.
In fairness to him, he played pretty well. Compared to Pavia, yeah, he went 9 of 13, 143 and a touchdown. We had a pick, but Pavia had 75 and 3 picks. Pavia was the dual threat,
Yeah.
But
I mean, he's got to start this next game, right?
What I found interesting was Amonte Watkins did not even get a touch.
I saw that,
and they said he had a pass thrown to him. I don't know if it was short. I didn't see it. I don't know if it was drop or if it was just a bad throw. I don't know, but that was his only involvement. What I was reading, which seems odd. But
yeah, that's not great. If you're not getting snaps for New Mexico State, you're in trouble.
And you'd think he's the most talented player on the roster, on the offense.
Yeah, that offense struggled. Like there was none of that.
But who knows? It could have been one of those stupid 1/2 suspensions for something he did. Who knows? Like that they don't announce. But we'll see. Week 1, we'll see how it kind of plays out.
What do we think happens in Hawaii? I think
Ugh.
we can disregard Vandy. Who cares?
Listen,
They just crushed Hawaii.
I
But,
watched the first quarter of that game, and I saw Hawaii come down the field, score, and I said, "Oh man, Hawaii's looking sharp. They're gonna look good." I changed the channel. I think me and my wife watched a movie or watched some shows or something, and I come to find out they're just getting boat raced. And I'm thinking, like, what happened? Because Vandy didn't look good like that first drive. I think they went 3 and out, or it was a very short drive. I'm thinking, oh yeah, Hawaii's gonna run up the score, and then I flip it back, and it's 35-7 at one point. But I don't know.
Bad.
Vandy, I guess, looks a little more threatening on offense than they have in years past. But is it because it's Hawaii? They have a dual threat quarterback, which they don't they don't normally have. I mean, they have a quarterback that looks at least like he can play football.
They need to get all in on the run. That's all. Just what I'll say. If they want to be good, that's like their strongest players. I feel like they better just run. Do the old Northwestern, like 3rd and 9. Here comes the draw. Like just do that type of stuff. Because I don't know if Mike Wright not hitting the Prize Picks prop, or even like doing well on underdog prop, right? It's like, oh my gosh, we're like, what are we doing here? But I'm very interested. I think Dedrick Parsons will be okay for like your redraft, or just for the rest of the season in terms of usage. But I mean, is Shager done? Like, do we think they give another guy a chance? Aren't you a Yellen guy?
I am. I mean, he did not exactly look good.
Well, they get Western Kentucky next week. I think you'll know everything you need to know there in that game. Like if they struggle to score points against them, I think then you have some reason for concern.
I think vice versa too, right? Like if Western Kentucky struggles against them, I think it's like, okay, well, not even struggles, like just doesn't do what we were hoping Western Kentucky would do.
Yeah.
A midnight kick.
11:59. It says Sunday, I think, on Fantrax.
Yeah.
But it's 11:59. Yeah. Just awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
So, I mean, they threw it a bunch. They threw it 55 times, but that's probably because they were behind most of the game. But I know they want to throw it. I don't know. We'll have to see. I think
Bowen's leaving the game clearly really set them back from a passing perspective.
I watched his one catch in the first drive. I'm thinking, oh, here we go. He's going to start running away with it. And then that was it. So, I don't know. They kind of spread the ball around, but that's, again, could be just because they were.
Pinoque looked like the classic, like slot Hawaii type guy. Murray looks like dude is an athletic freak, but I don't know if he just doesn't seem like he is exactly ready to translate that into production on the field. And part of it seemed like him and the QB weren't synced up, but also I felt like he just kind of made a couple mistakes. So if Bones is hurt and Murray's not really out there to contribute, Phillips didn't look like anything special, and my boy Tamatoa wasn't close to seeing the field. So it's like they've got like one receiver.
Pinoque, right? I mean, he had a nice game, right?
Pinoque? Yeah. He was good, but to make that offense go the way they wanted to, that's not going to cut it.
All right. That all we got on Hawaii and Vandy? You guys want to add anything to that? All right.
I think we got enough there. I think we can talk a little depth charts and then.
Yeah, I was just making sure there wasn't any other games we missed. I know I saw everybody going Charlotte +7. I'm like, ooh, boy. I can't really talk because every pick I had was just way off. So
Perry covered the underdog pick'em that I threw out there, so that was nice.
How like what was the number? Because it
was 242 total yards. He had like 263. So no problem there.
I've got him in Dynasty, so I'm not really thrilled by his performance, but
it was like the most classic Nkosi Perry game possible.
Right, and I was expecting a couple more touchdowns. He had 2 touchdowns. I can live with it if I had to just throw him in for a week. But realistically, like I need 3, 4, 5 touchdowns to make it worth my while. All right. Chris, I know you wanted to talk depth charts. Is there any you want to lead that off with?
I think the biggest one, and I've marked it when I've been doing these projections for the week. I'm like,
James Bond, backup quarterback in for the.
So Swen is listed on the depth chart this week, and we're pretending that he's okay, but I don't know how you can believe that.
We back, Zach?
Yeah. Well, no, I had audio. I don't know if you could hear it, but I had audio from the Charlotte Florida Atlantic game playing in my headphones, and that'll be on the recording. You guys didn't hear it, but they'll hear it.
Cool. Good.
So
keep them on their toes. The biggest one to me, at least right now, is Missouri running back. Like that situation. They're 3 touchdown favorites. It's a great matchup against Louisiana Tech. And this is like the position that you want on Missouri. And just in general, this is a great fantasy position to have, right? So, I think right now it says Elijah Young is the top of the oars, and then it's Pete, and then Cody Schrader.
Stop. Are you actually going to give the top of the oar thing like any sort of?
Well, I just was doing it just because I was trying to visualize it for the.
A lot of people actually like try and pretend that, like, read into that and like treat it like a religious thing.
Yeah, I don't buy into it like that, but I figured if I'm going to give it any,
you want to give the context that you want to paint the picture of the depth chart for our.
I wanted to make sure I was doing it correctly. So it was actually Schrader was second and Pete third. My personal thought is that if Pete's been banged up, and if Pete was not banged up this offseason, he would be the standalone guy or would eventually get the most carries on
Why
Thursday.
Do you think that?
I just think he's the best of the bunch. And I like Elijah Young, and to have some Elijah Young in Dynasty, it's just I can't imagine this Cody Schrader guy out of nowhere seems fickle. What's your perception of this, Andrew?
Do you know anything about Cody Schrader?
Not really.
He's from Division II, and he ran for almost 2,100 yards last year at Division II. I found Facebook highlights of the spring game of a cut up clip of just his runs against, and then listening to a Locked On Mizzou podcast talking about him. Apparently, when he got into the spring game, it was just against like walk-ons, basically. But he looks good running the ball against the walk-ons. That coupled with the 2,100 yards has me interested enough to try and scoop him in a couple places and just see how it plays out. I just made a bunch of ads, I think, like within the last day or so. Who knows, right? I'm not a believer in Pete personally, healthy or not. I don't think he sees much, if any, run this week, given the way that they're talking about his injury. I feel like so it's described as soft tissue officially, and what people have read into or the context that they've gleaned is like it's hamstring most likely. And the way it probably plays out this week is Elijah Young gets the first snap and then go from there, see how it rolls. Could be Young or Schrader for this weekend. But I agree with you that in the context of that DFS slate on Thursday, and then also I think just most interesting things on depth charts that we're reading that have come out within the last 48 hours, that's one of them. That's like it's a point to pay attention to and try and a puzzle to try to solve.
It reminds me of UNC on Saturday, where they threw out this BS depth chart with DJ Jones first. And I was talking to my buddy Galen, and he's like, why did you project it this way? I'm like, just don't touch it, please. Like all off season, we've been like talking about this in the last couple of weeks specifically, just like, don't touch it. Cause like, I feel pretty good about this. There's just so many things that went on with it. It was like DJ Jones is hopefully, I mean, he got like what, 1 carry or 2 snaps, and then he was off the field. And
it's so funny when that happens.
Like 5 carries. It's like, it truly felt like we appreciate your efforts to the team and the university, so we'll let you start the first game.
Yeah.
That's like literally what it felt like.
I want to go back to the point of the top of the oars list. Do you think these schools do that on purpose? They put a guy up there just to get it. Like they think, like the common thought is, oh, he's the top, so he must be the favorite. Or do you think it's just random? They throw him out there. Or do you think it's just alphabetical? Because I don't think it's always alphabetical.
No, I would say it's either random, or they're trying to make a play on a player, right? Like maybe Pete is screwing around and not taking rehab seriously.
We're going to put that
so
"or" on you, and we're going to put you at the bottom of the "ors."
I mean, yeah, it's all psychological, narrative street type stuff that we all love talking about, but like it's complete BS, and we won't care in like 2 weeks when football's full swing.
All right, so I wanted to jump in real quick. I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on it, but the Louisville depth chart came out, and Deion Evans was the RB1 according to this. But I wanted to scroll down to Andrew's guy, and it's actually I have him in Dynasty, Marshawn Ford. He's not the starting tight end. He's the
But he's never the starting tight end.
No, he's the H-back.
Yeah.
So that's basically we're going to use you playmaker position essentially, right?
Kind of like a Jalen Samuels without the rushing, I would say.
Yeah.
He's never listed a tight end though. Last year, same deal. They always list him an H-back, and then
Florida State does that with their running backs, right? Like Benson and Ward were Tua Feely had an amazing game too, and he had buzz all offseason. But like they are like more recently, but like Ward and Benson are their guys, but only one of them was shown as a starter, and then Tua Feely was shown as a starter as a running back. But it's like this weird. I don't know what this second running back is, but it's not like a fullback.
It's the Memphis thing, right?
It's got to be, right? But they both say the same thing, which is the confusing part. It's like, why are you both RB? Like, at least there's a tight end and an H-back for Louisville. But did you see the Alabama depth chart?
Yes.
I did.
Holden.
Dude, the Tides are not the Tides. Like, this story keeps going back and forth. Our bet, Brooks versus Earl, like every time something happens for one side, the pendulum swings the other way and just clocks the other team, whether it be C2C or PPR in the face, right? I mean, everyone seems pretty aligned in unison that Holden over Brooks is probably performative more than anything else. That Brooks is still gonna get a ton of snaps, get chances to show out. Harrell listed behind Burton is interesting, I think, and potentially similarly meaningless. And it's like the idea that, because what you're saying with that more or less is that Harrell will not get on the field unless Burton comes off the field, which I don't think is like the way that things actually play out. And I also don't think that, well, they're different, I guess, because I think ultimately Brooks is the Omari and Hampton to Trayshawn Holden's DJ Jones. So those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's for context, right? There's a bet between us and Jason the Natty where they have JoJo Earl, we have Ja'Cory Brooks. Do you think there's do you think there's a chance they do a bunch of 4 receiver sets, or do you think they're going to stay in with 3 receivers the most of the time?
I think they do. I think they got so many options. They could rotate. Like, just because he's second on the depth chart doesn't mean he doesn't get significant snaps. Like you're saying, Harrell behind Burton doesn't really make a ton of sense. Because like if you're assuming that Harrell is his true backup, then he shouldn't be on the field if Burton's on the field. And I don't think that is basically what Andrew was saying. Like, I don't think that's the case at all.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same way with
he's kind of been
Brooks.
So is there any possibility that Harrell's like early injury has kind of put him in the same spot as Pete, where it's like he just kind of started late because of an injury? Or do we think that honestly, if it wasn't for other people hyping up Harrell, I probably would be like, okay, yeah, cool. But like everybody else likes him so much. He's so fast. Like he wasn't that great at Louisville. Like Burton wasn't that great either, but like Burton, I don't know. He just, to me, looked better at Georgia. And then he had productive games. And it just was the offense wasn't built to do that.
I like them both. I agree that. So I think Alabama's base will be 3 receivers and then they'll go to 4. That's what it seems like they've done over recent years. And that will be one avenue for getting all those guys on the field.
Where do we think, and we can get away from Alabama here in a second, but what about Earl? Where do we think Earl would slot in?
The
Prentice spot, probably.
Yeah. Is that guy good? Prentice.
Yeah, they've been talking about him. Like I've seen a bunch of stuff that says like if is there the one freshman that should get significant time, it's him.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about him. I just know that they really like him.
Yeah.
All the Alabama writers and everything talk about him.
True.
It feels weird that he would just get right into a starting spot.
I know. I agree.
I don't know. We need to get at least 10 catches and 150 yards and a touchdown before.
My prediction, I'll stick to my theory. Prentice is on the field for less than 15% of snaps, and we see Harold Burton and
Holden
Brooks dominate snaps week 1.
Well, the best thing about this is that there's a 2, 3, 4 weeks maybe of games where these guys can prove that they're studs ahead of Earl. That's what I'm hoping for at the very least.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
all right. Other depth charts came out. There's a bunch. I'm just scrolling through them. I like Wisconsin's. It's just simple, 2 deep. We don't have any ors. There's no nothing. It's just give me the 2 deep that are going to start. That's what I want. I don't care if you lie to me. Just give me that. I don't want ors. Jarrett Dagey is an or as the backup quarterback at Troy. How long do you think it's before he's starting, or does he ever start there?
he might not ever start.
Okay.
He's gone. He's gone. Who cares? Mississippi State was interesting. It feels like I never know.
I just had that one up. I don't know where.
It feels like I never know what the heck. Like, there's all
There
these
it is,
letters. They all like rotate. So it's like, why do we have letters if like 1 on the field they rotate, and 2 like in spring you could have seen that Wally was an X and now he's a Y, and in 2 weeks he's going to be an H. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here, but that's starting. I guess what is it that you want? You want the
X.
the X, right?
Well, it just
Yeah.
depends.
No,
Depends
it's
the
you
offense.
want
I guess
you
like
want the Z.
the
You want the
Z.
Z in this offense. That's why Mekhi Polk was,
Yeah.
and that's Caleb Ducking, who nobody talked about until like 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Of course, is
course.
Mike Leach.
Do you see that there's some guy that no one's ever heard of in an or with Marks and Dylan Johnson?
Yeah,
Simeon Price.
Who is that man?
no idea.
It's very Leach to do that, though.
and he'll start. He'll be the guy that they've trot out their opening drive to.
Yeah,
and everyone's gonna lose their mind.
Yeah.
Trying to see if there's anything else that's kind of jumping out. Memphis put out theirs. They got Brandon Thomas and Ducker. I guess they're probably both going to share time.
What do you guys think about
Ontario Brown starting over Whaley is gonna. I should just light a bunch of money on fire right now because that's about where I'm at with that. Having drafted,
I have
endless Whaley all off season. So
I think they'll be fine though. Like, I think Brown will get. I was looking at game logs from last year, and it's definitely like one guy gets the heavy workload, right? But
Javon Baker.
the other guy still gets like some run. It's not like Whaley's toast.
Yeah.
So you still have a shot. I mean, it's whatever, but it's not great, but it's not the end of the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
My guy Javon Baker getting a starting spot for UCF.
He can.
Dude,
one of the guys who can block for Pumley.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna throw it like 7 times a game. Like, who could? Like
I've just held
between
on to
Bowser
it for so long.
and Plumlee, that's just gonna be just run
awesome.
after run.
It's gonna be great,
and it's gonna work. It's the best part about it.
Yeah.
What do we think about Michigan rotating starting quarterbacks?
Not for a half, like game to game, right? Isn't that how they're doing it? Like game 1, game 2.
I think it's awesome, and I think that as much as so much of the stuff that Harbaugh does is just grandstanding and performative and super weird and stuff, but peel back, ignoring the source for a second. I think that when you have 2 quarterbacks, especially those that play different styles, this is and you have the opportunity with the way the schedule sets up. This is an amazing and ideal way to settle a quarterback battle. How can you possibly tell if JJ McCarthy is as good at running the offense as Cade McNamara is when his game is so much more based on athleticism than Cade's is? right? In an environment where you can't go live and lean into his trends. And no, I'm not speaking at all about the Cincinnati quarterback battle at all. And they should just have Ben Bryant trot out against Arkansas, and then Prater
They're
gets
going
Miami,
to.
Ohio, and whoever plays better gets the job.
I think we're going to see it. They're just not going to announce it like that.
Yeah. But no, I think it's really smart. I think that this is the only way to like actually see who is better at leading the offense in a real environment, and the fact that they're playing. I mean, I love both those teams so much, of course, Hawaii and Colorado State, but it's probably not going to be super close in either of those games. So I think it's a great opportunity to actually settle a QB battle the right way.
Which, by the way, Colorado State, real quick, I saw that Dante Wright is a
backup.
It's a backup,
to
Stovall.
Yeah.
What's the bigger dick move? Mike posting his own tweet in his own Discord, or Jim Harbaugh saying, "You know what? We're so good that I don't even know who my quarterback is, and I'm going to let one of them play one day and one of them the other."
and then trying to parlay it into a Bible reference that made absolutely zero sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't read that. Like, I saw the jokes about it, and I was like, I'm not even going to try.
You still gotta give Mike the nod, though, right?
Yeah, definitely, Mike.
Oh yeah.
For me, what's the like? You're playing two bad teams. Like, I fully expect Cade McNamara to be like 14 for 18 for 220 and 2 TDs, and then I fully expect JJ McCarthy to be like 8 for 11 for $160 and a touchdown, but then run for like 80 yards and two. Like, what are you really going to accomplish? They're both going to look great. And then what do you do game 3?
Yeah.
You just say like, well, I liked our offense more. Like, it was more dynamic and more, keep you on your toes when JJ was at quarterback? Or do you think we need I think because everybody else is so good, our defense is so good that we're just going to do the Cade McNamara play it safe thing? Because I feel like both are going to be awesome.
What do you think about this? Those games are going to be main slate games, right? And everyone is going to be on the Michigan running games, but maybe to actually settle the quarterback battle, Harbaugh calls super QB heavy game plans and says, you know what? Throw the ball 40 times, Cade, and let's see how you actually are as a quarterback. And the running backs don't really get involved into game
or not as much.
3. Yeah.
I definitely JJ's game is to run it, right? Like, he's obviously he's a dual threat, so he can pass.
Yeah, RPOs all day for him, and Cade drop back pass 40 times.
I would be worried about him throwing it 40 times against Colorado State. Like, it probably works out fine, but
if it's not working, then you just you give him a black mark, right? And you hand the ball to Corum and Donovan in the second half.
So, if I were to make projections for this, do you say McNamara gets 100% of the snaps at quarterback? Yeah. Usually, right? I would say, it's going to be a blowout, so I'll give 5% of the quarterback snaps to McCarthy. But if anything, it kind of feels like it's going to be McNamara and then like QB3, maybe.
I agree. So this offseason, I came up with 10 questions that I want to try and ask myself for like a given slate for DFS. Like, what are 10 ways that I can like be contrarian potentially if the slate allows for it? And one of them is, what team in a great matchup that leans on their running back could just, the way they get their points is actually they just throw all over that opposing defense. And maybe Michigan's the answer week 1.
Yeah.
Because everyone will be all on Edwards and Corum, and then maybe Cade goes for 320 and 3.
But to kind of answer your question, Chris, like, what do you do if they both play well game 1 and game 2? Because you get UConn week 3. So you just...
Do you think they go half and half for that one? I really am curious what Harbaugh.
So he said he would name a starter after the second game, but I mean, you could always change your mind. You could do whatever you want.
Yeah.
No one's gonna.
Like, what if against Colorado State, it's just lights out, like a perfect, flawless game?
Yeah.
Do you still roll out the plan with week 2, or do you just like, look, why would we change?
Yeah, I think you can because
you have the luxury to do that. Yeah, but. Then what if he has a lights out performance game 2? Like, it just feels like you're setting yourself up for a difficult decision. But
I mean, I think he's giving himself the best shot because he was going to have to make a difficult decision to begin with.
yeah,
So now he's saying, okay, well, look, like both guys are going to have a shot against a really bad team. So if one of them falls on their face, no one's going to get mad at me because I said and I gave him a shot. Like and he's
and
just
you keep your
he's
word
kicking
kind
the
of thing.
can down the road. Yeah, he's kicking the can down the road for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Well, it's different, but see how it plays out.
Who do either of you guys care or have an edge to like which one you want to win?
I want
job?
JJ.
Yeah, I think
I do
JJ
too.
too. So they should have just asked us.
I want, if he wins it, I want them to change the offense though to like just be straight RPOs all the time. Which
Michigan, Harbaugh's like, yeah, how can I run it more? So I'm surprised he hasn't done it already, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he played McCarthy a good bit last year randomly, like, I don't think he would have ever done that, right? Like, in all the other years, they couldn't find one random backup that was, like, pretty mobile to be, like, that same guy, and he never did with, like, Rudock and O'Kern and all those guys. Like, so
Yeah.
it'd be nice. Who knows what happens, but it's hard to go against McNamara when he just pulled the Stetson Bennett and got him to the playoff.
All right. Yeah. I wanted to address this because I know Andrew is dying to talk about it. So TCU released their depth chart, and they gave the or at quarterback. Is that just all for show, a smokescreen, or
it's just more opportunity for us to make more money? Hopefully they don't announce anything at all, and none of that like the game day leak shit where. I don't understand why it's always a national guy who's leaking it out too. Like, why do these schools tell Pete Thamel who their starting quarterback is going to be? I'd be so fucking pissed if I was a local beat writer and I'm putting all this time and energy covering this team, and the school went behind my back and went to the national guy and leaked the story that I've been trying to uncover the entire offseason to that national guy. But I digress. Yeah, it's more opportunity for us. It's going to be Chandler. He's gonna ball out. I love hearing the three QBs will play thing. I think it's only true. I think in the sense that Sam Jackson is getting time running back right now, right? Supposedly, like that's a little bit that you could just pick up if you're searching Twitter and stuff like that. But I don't buy into the idea that they're just gonna rotate or quarters or possessions or anything like that. It's gonna be Chandler. It's gonna be awesome. Let's go.
So Chris, we were talking about the X's and the Y's, the Z's, all those positions, right? Utah's depth chart. Have you looked at it? They have
it's like only ors, right?
No. They have X receiver, a Z receiver, an R receiver, a Y, which is a tight end, and a U, which is a tight end. And Kincaid's the Y, Keithy's the U.
Is that stand for utility, or what do you think that stands for?
Probably that's what I would think. Utility man, like just use him as a fullback / tight end, wherever we want to put him, kind of thing.
Guys think they're so smart.
But the running backs, yeah, it's a 4-way or. Matter of fact,
now is it bad to be the fourth? At what point does being the last or actually matter? Like, if you're the fourth one.
What I find interesting is there's an or after all 4 of them. So it's like there could be a 5th guy.
Dude, I saw
an or after Glover.
That.
Yeah.
Like, or we just go to the next position and just let that guy play.
Or we let the fullback, Logan Kendall, play. He's there.
So here's a hot button or right now. Mitchell Trigg is an or, and he's the second or. So is Dart. Okay, here's another one. Do we think that with this situation, Dart's the second or, and so is Trigg, which I think, yes, Altmaier had some steam, and there's a decent shot that he's a quarterback.
Maybe that's the second
because
game.
Dart
guy.
and Trigg.
Just kidding.
Maybe do we think that Trigg and Dart being second ors, the correlation is real, and thus they are both the starters?
Interesting.
You got to dig deep for this.
I don't know. Man. Like they could just be the Central Arkansas game team. If they play Troy week 1, maybe they get week 2.
None of that crap matters. They're,
I know.
The QB battle's a battle, but there's no way after Casey Kelly, all that hype he got last offseason, didn't do anything, and there's no way he beats out Trig. There's zero way.
Yeah.
It's starting Trig.
I haven't looked at a ton. I've only the ones that have kind of come across my feed. I don't have them all, but I think we've kind of covered most, if not all, that we want to talk about. Unless there's some that you guys want to throw in.
No, I think we've covered all the good ones.
Somehow Puka, Nakua, and Gunnar Romney are magically hurt. Why is this just coming out today? And these writers are acting like this was just common knowledge that they weren't practicing for the past few weeks. No, dude, no one knew about this.
Beat writers have no idea what they're doing these days. They can't even take a picture, right? So I don't know, can't assume that they're going to do anything else.
That was one of the best tweets I've seen, Chris.
Did you see the Alabama one?
Yeah.
Did you see the Alabama? Why is that guy giving me a shot of his crotch like that? Did you notice that?
Good. I did. But your tweet was I literally laughed out loud when I read that.
It is incredible how bad they are at taking photos. And like half the time I have to squint, like I'm literally getting my face to the monitor because like if I click it, it somehow doesn't get bigger and it's not big enough to begin with. It's just a mess.
Yeah.
The love and hate of this day.
So Syracuse. Oh yeah, Syracuse depth chart. That was one I saw. All the receiver positions are oars. No surprise. Do we know anything about the backup quarterback? Syracuse? Carlos Del Rio Wilson?
That's the former Florida.
Yeah.
Jack Del Rio's kid.
Yeah. Is he any good?
No. He's been to like 4 colleges.
Is that the same guy?
He's a redshirt freshman, so according to the depth
it's
chart.
the brother of the one that went to 4 colleges. Same thing. No. I think the guy that matters there is that Justin Lamson that got hurt. He's the real backup. He just is hurt for the season. So
gotcha.
C2C guys love him.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Well, all right.
I think it's time for me to go make dinner, Zach. So I'm gonna wrap this bad boy up.
Yeah, it's getting late.
Yeah. It's good talking to you guys on a Monday.
Night.
Monday night. Yep. So before we go, just want to promote the underdog thing real quick. If you guys haven't already, just use the code BTR or BTR Pod, and they'll match up to $100 of your deposit. They got some cool picks for college football. They got, as a matter of fact, like me, I thought I could play. Apparently, I can't. So that kind of sucks. But if you're in a state that can do it, it is pretty cool. Yeah, but other than that, follow us, like us, subscribe to us on YouTube, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. I know you can't on Spotify, but you can leave a rating. Please do that. That's all I got, guys. So unless you guys got something else to add, see you guys next week.